When I was a kid and into my teens, I used to draw constantly. Like, I had my sketchbook with me everywhere I went, and I would draw like on the daily at home. I was just always drawing. These sketches were just kind of a supplement to my stories. They were my way of connecting with the characters in my books. As I would draw them and like see their faces and expressions, I just felt like that was how I really got to look into their personalities. And it brought me so much joy. It felt like those moments when I would capture a character's face or pose or whatever correctly, it felt like I had slid open a little window into another world and was glimpsing it, and that I had managed to preserve that window, and I could go back and look at the sketch in the future. And I can still feel that when I go look at my old sketchbooks and I see the faces of my characters over the years, and even as my art style evolved and some pictures are better than others, those really feel like the most core memories of my life is the things that I was writing about and like what my characters were doing. They're the greatest treasures I own as far as I'm concerned. The things most precious to me are my sketchbooks. But at some point, well, not at some point, I can exactly tell you when, it was around 2008, 2009, my output in my sketchbooks started to drop off a lot. And then it dwindled away into almost nothing. Once in a while, I would sit and sketch a character. But after about 2009, this went from a daily or at least weekly habit into something I would maybe do for like 10 minutes once a month. And I stopped really filling up sketchbooks. I stopped really experimenting with art. It was like once in a while I'd draw somebody's head, and that was about it. So it's been like over 15 years since I've been drawing regularly. And what happened in 2009? Well, my first book came out, and I quit my job in retail and became a full-time author. And ever since then, I've been making my living as a writer, which has meant that rather than drawing the characters that really feel like my characters, the ones that I've been writing about since I was a kid, that feel like my family, I just started writing what would sell because I needed to make a living. And rather than following the same characters over a long period of time, I just started bouncing around to different projects based on first, like what would excite my agent, what would get editors excited. Then I moved to indie publishing and I was following the indie market. What can I write that will sell? And I have generally thought that that is the reason that I stopped drawing, is because I was writing things that were for the market, and there really wasn't much need to develop the characters visually or to peer into their world, because it just wasn't that kind of relationship anymore. And that is absolutely true, that is a reason why I stopped drawing. But over the last year, since I started this channel, I have been writing the books that I love, writing about the characters that I love, so it would stand to reason that I should be drawing again, but I haven't been. Why not? I could have just lost the habit. I think that's certainly a reason. But I got to thinking about this the other day based on a couple conversations that ended up popping up in my Discord. And that is when I started to think about a new aspect of my relationship to social media that I had not previously considered, although I have talked about in other videos how my relationship to social media has changed and some of the things that I think that it has done to my brain that haven't been that great. There's a lot of videos about it. Somebody else has probably touched on the same topic, but you know, I haven't watched all the videos in the world. I've read a fair amount of books about how social media has altered how we think in our society, but I have not seen anyone personally bring up this point. So I just wanted to talk about this a little and see if maybe it resonates with anybody else. Particularly because I have been trying to draw away from supporting big companies. And so I need a little extra motivation. Like, why should I really do that? Obviously, I can't pull away entirely. I'm still going to be here on YouTube, and my Amazon's probably going to continue to be the main channel for selling my books. Although some of you have asked if my books are or will be available anywhere besides Amazon. And I just want to note, they are all available on all the general wide retailers. That includes Kobo, Google, Apple, Barnes & Noble, as well as several like European retailers, libraries. The only one that is currently Amazon exclusive is the Broken Queen, and I just started the process to pull that away from Amazon exclusive. So the answer is yes, they're available everywhere. I only have an Amazon link in my profile because they just have a convenient way of organizing your books into lists. So I would say just use that as a reference and then go buy them wherever you want to buy them. But anyway, I digress. Let's talk about social media. So yes, the other day in my Discord server, one of my regulars, shout out to Ray, he said that he was going to do his like writing sprint, and then when he took a break, he was going to sketch. And the point was not to make anything great, it was just to have fun with it. And I was like, oh, that's genius. I've been wanting to write more, and like I'm always like, when can I fit it into my day? And honestly, just taking a break from writing for like 5 minutes to do a sketch, like that's so perfect. I should have thought of that. And the other thing is I've been wanting to have sketches of different scenes in the book so that when I do like a read aloud video again, I'll have more pictures to put in the video. So that's brilliant. It's a great idea. So I started doing that and it felt so good. I just did a little sketch to match the scene I had just written. And I got really into it. And when I was done, I had just such a warm, fuzzy feeling. I left the sketchbook open by my laptop for like days afterward. And every time I would sit down, I would look at the sketch and just be like, aw. And what struck me about that feeling is that it was not a feeling that like I was sharing on social media. Like I posted the sketch in my Discord, but I don't really expect that anyone's going to have that same deep, warm, and fuzzy feeling when they look at my characters as I do. Like, it's really something I'm doing just for me. Like, that was the beauty of that feeling, is that it didn't matter if anybody else cared. It was just a happy little thing just for me that every time I look at it, I just feel so happy. And this observation led to a little discussion on the Discord about how easy it is to fall out of habits like that, and how social media can make us feel like everything that we do needs to have some kind of like purpose, some reason to post it on social media. So if you like to draw, but you know your art is like not that great, or it's not the main thing you're trying to like market, if you're anything like me, you might hesitate and think, I mean, I shouldn't post this as just like a sketch. Nobody's going to care. And then that might make you pull back from drawing altogether. And I don't think this was super conscious on my part. It was more like just trying to decide what to do with the hours of my day and just mentally thinking like, well, you can't do anything with that artwork, or it's just like this insidious little thing. And like so many people, I have just been generally grappling with my relationship to social media, especially in the last several years. When I first got on the internet, social media had not yet reached the stage where you could like repost a thing, where algorithms would determine what you would see, and where there was not really any kind of like marketing of yourself on your average social media channel. And I remember that the point that all started to flip was around, right around 2009, at least for me. That was when I started using Twitter more heavily, and Facebook started to also have more of like that reposting, and like it was, that felt like the year that the shift started to occur. And it's gotten worse since then, but that felt like the turning point year. So the year that social media started to change was the year that I started to pull away from drawing. And I do distinctly remember feeling like I would like to draw my characters from my books and use this like as part of my social media presence, but getting that sense that like nobody cared. My art it's okay. It's not like professional grade. I even had a few people tell me they don't want to see any art. They don't want to know what the characters look like. They don't like my art. Like, I've had just outright rejection. So then what happens is that I subconsciously, and a little bit also consciously, started not doing art very much. Feel like this is pointless. And when you're on social media nowadays, I tend to fall into the trap that the social media has a purpose, right? Because if you just post like whatever, for one thing, why am I even posting that at that point? when I had a live journal, there was like an archive. Like it was just, I thought of it like my diary, and I would just go back and read it, like if I wanted to see what I was doing at any particular time. But social media nowadays is not so much an archive. Like you can't easily go back and just refer to yourself as much. You're really posting it for that specific moment in time and for the people that are following you. Therefore, you're probably going to think that your posts need some kind of purpose. And your purpose might be making people laugh, making people think, curating your brand, sharing a particular insight or an obsession that you have with people who have similar insights or interests, displaying your talents and skills, hoping to gain fans or clients, or maybe just to show off to everybody that you took a trip to Italy this year. Good for you. But certainly while there are people on my feed who just kind of do more stream of consciousness, boring stuff, you know, like my air conditioner's making a weird noise. Post. What should I have for lunch? I have hot dogs, but I'm not really in the mood for them. Post. You know, like, there's definitely people on my feed who are just like, wow, that's boring, but kind of charming in a way. If it's your friend, then you might not necessarily mind, but that isn't, like, you need a group of friends already, and the algorithm is probably going to bury you because your posts are not really attracting a lot of engagement. Now, recently, there has been more of a shift to move over to Blue Sky, which does not have as much of, like, the algorithm stuff going on, but it is, as a platform, more like Twitter with like short posts. So I got on Blue Sky. I open Blue Sky every day and I'm kind of like, what do I do here? I don't think that Blue Sky is very good for marketing myself, and I also don't really want to do that. And I could just post boring stuff, but you know, I could also just jot that down in a notebook and keep my privacy. But I have this like pressure in the back of my mind, like, well, you should have a social media presence somewhere. So I'm thinking like, what can I post that would be funny or interesting or would make people want to read my books or would just make people think I'm cool and like me? That's like always in the back of my head. I've been thinking about how there's been a lot of discussion about how social media can like lower your attention span and distract you from the real world and things like that. But what I've been thinking about lately is how it has subconsciously made me curate all the thoughts that go through my brain and like sort them out based on whether they are entertaining for the public. And that sorting process of just trying to think, this would be a funny or insightful post, has also subconsciously made me draw away from things that I know will not be that entertaining to the public, including my sketching. I really think that this is a factor in why I haven't been drawing and why I have kind of lost that feeling of like, you should draw. And I think it's also altered my thoughts. Like now that I'm thinking about it, I think that I have kind of like I sometimes nudge my brain toward the things that will be interesting and away from things that are just like my own private, like I'm just mulling this over for myself. There's a little pressure like, is there a way that you could shape this into a post? So after all this pondering of social media for like the last several years and thinking about like, how can I maintain it so that I'm not using it too much? Like my phone has almost no apps on it, but I never once stopped to think that just having the social media presence makes me feel like I need to make sure that I'm thinking of things to say on the daily basis that are like interesting or thoughtful in some way. And maybe I just want to let my thoughts just like run free with no outlet. Maybe I don't want to share any of them. And the reason why is because if I share them, then I'm automatically going to have to start thinking about the next thought. What is the next good thought I'm going to have? And this is a weird way to think. Now, the reason that I do like YouTube videos particularly is because I have like a schedule for those and it just fits the way that I think. Anyway, this very video, in fact, is something that kind of coalesced organically, starting with the like, oh, drawing is fun, and then why haven't I been doing it, and social media, like it just kind of coalesced into an essay of sorts that I'm giving to you now. It feels very natural to discuss it in like long form format and feel like we're sitting down to have a conversation, and I'm wondering if any of this resonates with you. Like, we can have a conversation of sorts that has like a nice little heft to it, I think. My personal problem is with all of the ones that I feel like I have to post on daily or even like multiple times a day. Your Twitters, Facebooks, Blue Skies, Instagrams, TikToks, all the things that feel like they demand constant feeding. That constant feeding can be a distraction and can make you feel like you always have to be checking your phone. But I've also been thinking about how it also just makes me think about, even if I put the phone away or all the devices throughout the day, I'm still going to be thinking like, what can I post? What can I say? How can I be interesting today? And as I've been thinking about that, it really makes me want to just leave all of those. Some of you might have brains that like are perfectly suited to this kind of platform, and it doesn't feel like you're altering your thought process to conform to them, and you might love it there. That's fine. But the way that I think, I'm just feeling suddenly like, you know what? I don't want to try to have a Blue Sky profile, and I don't want to do any of these. I don't want to do Instagram. I don't want to do Facebook. I just want to stay here on YouTube. And once in a while, I post something on Substack and Patreon, because those are also like long form, and I don't follow any kind of schedule with those. I just do it when I feel like it. So that was my thought of the week. This video is very impromptu. I was going to do a video about finishing the potion dealers, but life has gotten in the way and I haven't finished it yet. So I hope that my off-the-cuff thoughts maybe resonated with some of you, and I would love to know if you have any thoughts about all of this. It is like an ongoing quest for me to figure out how to best guard my creative soul and like basically to reclaim that from technology and just like the structure of the society we live in. So yeah, feel free to discuss. And if you want any more from me, I have a Patreon and a Substack. Same content on both. They both have a free tier. You can find them in the description. My name is Lydia Foxglove, and I am a fantasy author. I talk about writing life, as well as just the creative life in a world full of distractions. I talk about the financial side of things. Everything in a broad sense related to how can I best live the creative life that I really want, which is one where I have time and mental space and money. So if you're new here and that sounds good to you, feel free to click that subscribe button. And if you've been around a while, thank you so much. And hopefully I will see you next week with that video about finishing the potion dealers. I'm going to go get to work on it right now. So I will see you next time. Bye.